What's up, everybody? You're tuned in to another episode of Off the Yard, and today's a doozy. I've been in some penitentiaries, man, where I've seen some wild stuff, and I've seen people extend their loyalties, man, to people that didn't deserve it, and to people who literally stabbed them in the back. Hey, if you know, you know. Gladiator gang, you're up to bat, baby. Let's go. I've been telling prison stories for about 5 years now, man. And you'd think that I'd run out. But I've done a lot of time. Almost 20 years. And in that 20 years, I've seen some of the most wild, heinous, unexplainable, nightmare-giving stuff, man, that you can even imagine. So, I told a story about a dude getting his eyeball pushed in or out, right? This was a little bit later down the road. Gangs started becoming very prevalent in our state, in our prisons, especially in the higher levels. You're always gonna have dudes in the lower levels that's throwing up all the things and trying to act hard, but in reality, most of them people are trying to go home, right? So by them trying to go home, they're selling wolf tickets, man. But once you get to level 3s and 4s and 5s, ain't no more wolf tickets. When you say you're gonna do something, you better damn well do it. And if you ain't trying to go that route, just keep your mouth closed. You got a lot of people who come into the system that might have messed up at a lower level, man, like down at a 1 or 2, maybe pissed dirty, has some dirty urines, they can send them to the higher levels. Or they get in a fight, or their level just goes up, their points go up. You know, sometimes I feel like it's almost irresponsible, though, to send some of them guys to these higher levels. You know, when I was in prison, I was literally a monster. I was a monster. You know, I was a 280-pound grown man with a chip on his shoulder who was prone to violence. You know what I mean? So, that's a recipe for destruction, right? Anyway, this is a story about a kid who came into the system repping something that he probably shouldn't have. Thought he knew enough about the organization to say that he was a part of it. The problem is that when you belong to an organization, the top guys, the top of the food chain, 9 times out of 10 can reach out to the world somewhere and find out if you're capping. I was in such an organization. I was the top of the food chain, and I could definitely find out if somebody was not what they were saying they were. This guy showed up. He's doing all the things. He's locking. You know, you can learn a lot of the lit, which is the gang organization's literature. This is their rules, their codes of conduct, creos, their little sayings and whatnot. You can literally learn how to do their finger locks online. We live in a world where everything is accessible for the most part. So he knew a lot. The problem was he could not tap in with anybody. He said that he got put down on his lower level, which was, I think, Haynesville. Haynesville's a level 1, 2. There's a lot of rats, a lot of chomos, a lot of snitching going on, bro. It's a lot of it's not prison. It's not prison. It's a correctional center. And it's a very low-level correctional center. It's basically damn near PC. We was at Greensville at this point in time, which is one of the most gang-infested prisons. You've heard all the guys in Virginia talk about it. It's notorious. You've heard me talk about Greensville. Jay Williams talk about it. Banky Pounds talked about it. Lockdown 23-1 has talked about it. It's notorious. It's one of the most notorious prisons in our state. One of the most violent. There's a lot of stabbings. There's a lot of graping going on. But I had never seen anything quite like this. When you're in an organization, you have to follow their rules and their code of conduct. If you do not, you're going to get a violation. You might have to write sentences. You might have to do a double workout. You might have to get beat up. You could even get poked up. There's certain things, certain levels of violations that go along with certain punishments. You know what I mean? If you end up owing another organization some money, it's probably a higher violation than if you missed a church. Or you missed a workout, skipped leg day, whatever. Like in my organization, it was mandatory you had to work out 3 to 4 times a day. If you were a ranking member, you had to work out 5 to 6 days a week. You had to like lead by example, man. You couldn't just be like, do. And that's what it was. You had to show these young boys especially how to conduct yourself, not only as a part of an organization, but as a man. Because a lot of these youngsters come in there and they really have no direction. They've never been taught anything in their life, except by their mommy who probably patted them on their butt and told them it was more special than everybody else's. And I'm going to tell a story in the future about a person that was actually the same rank as I was, or was given the same rank, but, you know, was being led by other people's opinions. And one thing that I know in life, you cannot plant a seed in a stone. I used to tell people all the time, let your ears be stone. Because people would tell you anything. But this guy's ears definitely were not stone. But that's for another day, another story. So this youngster rolls up and he is loud and he's obnoxious. He's very, very, he's annoying. So the big homie kept trying to like show him the ropes. But in the meantime and in between time, he's trying to figure out who this cat really is, because he's saying he's this, but he's really not. I'm not gonna speak on the organization because it's a pretty big organization, and just out of respect, like I don't like to try not to do that, man. You know what I mean? Well, about a month or so goes by, and within that month, the kid, first of all, has shown no, he's not really a kid, but we call him a kid, he's in his 20s, whatever. He's really shown no, the people don't want him in the organization anyway. He doesn't have any money, he hasn't made any connections, he's not a hustler, he just runs around bumming soups off his homies all the time. Which a lot of guys will do, man. They'll get in a gang just to eat more or have some money or some status. They don't really believe in shit. And how do you go ask a guy to really put his life on the line for you? Or how are you going to put your life on the line for another individual that doesn't believe in anything you're talking about or anything that you stand for? You can't do it. It doesn't work. It fails every time. Well, they decide, listen, you're not who you say you are, so we're going to put you out. Well, instead of taking his lumps, he decides he's going to go to the police. So he goes to the police and he checks in. Now, what I mean by checking in, he goes into protective custody. He goes into a cell. He's going to get moved out of the unit, possibly off the yard, possibly out to another prison. But let me tell you something. Prison is a very small and tight network. There's nowhere you're going to be able to go that you're not going to be found out eventually. Well, he goes to PC. He's in the hole for like 3 weeks. He's trying to get shipped to another prison. But a lot of people try to do this, and the guards and the administration are like, listen, if we shipped every single person that came in here because they messed up, we'd be shipping people all the time. So they deny his transfer. They move him to another unit. Now, right around this time, I get moved to another unit. The same unit, right? I was moved for, we were getting kind of big in my organization, and the administration, if you start to get a little juice and you start to like make too much noise, they'll split you up. And that's what they did. I was on S3, they sent me to S1. S1 has got gangland. A gangland, which is 8 building at the time, was definitely off the hook. Well, that's where they send this kid. Why did they send him there? I don't know. They should not send this kid to 8 building. We're in 8 building. He comes into the pod. I knew exactly where I'm the one put him on blast. I said, dude checked in. Dude checked in over in S3. Okay, so they send the kite over to the homies. Boom, boom, boom. They get the word. I'm thinking he's going to get his lumps now. He's going to get his ass whooping. They're just going to beat him out the whip. Not that big a deal, right? Boy, was I wrong. They called rec one day. And when you call rec, you line up to a door or a vestibule. At Greensville, you had a back door that you could go down and out to the rec yard. Sometimes they let you out that way. Well, we're lined up at the back door. There's a cell right here. There's a couple cells. The way it is like kind of like a corner for the door, and then there's a cell. The cell block starts. Well, that kid's cell is right there by the door. He's getting himself ready to go outside, putting his gym clothes on, whatever. And I noticed that there's about 6 or 7 of these guys from this organization kind of slowly maneuvering their way, but they're all moving as a unit. And when you see things like that, and you see people moving as a unit, then they tend to be up to something. You tend to get the hell out of the way because it ain't got nothing to do with you, and you don't want to get hit in the crosshairs. Because if there are going to be knives pulled out, when people start throwing knives around, it really gets like chaotic and hectic, and the wrong person can get hit real fast. So me and my boys, we kind of like scooted off to the side. I was like, look. Hey, look. Well, they rush into the kid's cell. And you get a scuffle. Well, you can't shut the door. The door has to be shut. It's a sliding door, right? So when they rush in, 2 guys stand in front of the door, right? And you start to see the screaming. Like, not getting your face punched screaming, but like somebody running up in you screaming. Pleads of no. Please, God, no. Please, no. Then you hear the muffle, which is them usually putting either like a sock, or arm, or something over their mouth. They don't want the screams to get out of the cell. Now it's getting kind of real, bro. I'm kind of like looking at the dudes at the door like, for real? That's how y'all going? Every one of them guys took a turn on that boy. When I say took a turn, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I can't really get into it on YouTube. They all took a turn. And when someone is getting that happen to them, the smell is terrible. I don't even know how people can do it to people. The smell alone. It's so disgusting. It's a mix of blood and feces and other stuff. I don't know if the punishment fit the crime on that one, boys. Pretty sure it didn't. I don't know what type of message you sent. But I don't think it was a good one. Now, this is going to be part 1 of this story, because there's going to be a part 2 of what happens to the members of the organization that did this. And the reason I'm going to do it in 2 parts is because I want you guys to really let this one sink in. Because after this happened, they all come rushing out. Then 2 guys stay at the door so the boy can't run out and tell. We all go to rec. Now, for an hour, I don't know what happened. Can't speak on it because I wasn't there. When I come back in, the door was shut. The kid was in the cell. Now, these guys are not going to get away with this. Eventually, they're going to have to lock down, unless they wanted to go ahead and whack the dude, which they weren't willing to whack him. So they left him alive in the cell. So count time comes right before chow. Chow time comes, boom, and when they come by to do count or whatever before chow, the boy tells him, I need to go to PC. I've been assaulted. I remember sitting in my cell, because my cell was across from his cell. I remember watching as they brought him out. And the guards had to carry him arm by arm, like in the air. Because his asshole was just ripped so bad that he couldn't walk. He was going to medical to get his asshole sewn back up. That boy didn't deserve that. A lot of people say, well, he knew what he was signing. No, he did not know he was signing up for that. So, we're going to get into part 2 of that. Because a lot of times people are like, what happened to his? So I'm going to make sure that I close the story up. So I think you really are going to want to know what happens to these 6 or 7 guys. But until then, much love to the Gladiator Gang. Salute to all the day ones from day one. And as always, stay up, stay out. Stay sucker free, baby. Let's go.